So in this video, I'm just going to do the beginning part of the lecture this morning. We're going to make a bucket list with the add feature. All right, and I'm going to walk you guys through how to do this from the very beginning so that you have something to look at if you want to start with the bucket list assignment. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a new project, single view application. We're going to call it bucket list. Next, creating the Git repo. All right, make this a little bigger. First thing we're going to do, just like we did in the morning, we're going to delete this view controller. We're going to put in a table view controller. All right, table view controller, we got to make sure that this guy is the initial view controller, so the arrow points over here. All right, and now we are going to give the prototype cell, we're going to click on the table view cell, and then we're going to give it a reuse identifier, my cell. Okay, and then we're going to go to the Swift file, and we're going to make this, we're going to change the name to bucket list table view controller. Okay, we're going to change the name here as well, over here as well, just to be thorough, right? And last thing we're going to change is the UI table view controller instead of UI view controller. Save anyways. Now we go back to the storyboard. Make sure that this is the correct class. All right, there we go. So now we hover over it, it says bucket list table view controller. Cool. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to create a fixture on top. And this is just some dummy data. So say variable list r is equal to an array of strings. So it's going to be thing1, thing2, thing3. Okay. Now we're going to have to implement the table view functions. All right. Because we're using a UI table view controller, we don't have to worry about writing up here the delegate and data source automatically. Because it's a UI table view controller, it's already assuming those roles. So we're going to write out those protocol functions down here. All right. So the first one is going to be number of rows at. We're going to return the list array.count. How many elements are in our fixture right here? That's the number of rows we're going to do. So this one, how many rows are in my table? This one is what does each cell look like? All right, so those are the two questions we must answer. So for this one, it's going to be cell for row at index path. This one, cell for row at index path. So here we're going to have to do three things. The first thing, we're going to create the cell. Let cell equals to table view dot dequeue reusable cell with identifier. The identifier is going to be my cell. Index path is just index path. Okay, that's the first thing we do. Create the cell. The second thing we do is set some data, right? Because why would we want a cell if we don't set any data to it? So here we're going to say cell dot text label dot text is equal to the list array of index path.row. So we're setting the text label.text to be whatever it is that our list array index contains. All right. And the third thing, we're going to return the cell. Right? If we don't return cell, because Swift is a strongly typed language, you're saying right here that you're returning a UI table view cell. If you don't do that, it's going to yell at you. All right? So, cool. Now, if we run this, we should be able to see our table view render these three things. All right, there we go. Thing one, thing two, thing three. Cool. So let's stop that. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to create the add button. In order to do that, we're going to have to embed a navigation controller. So make sure that our view controller is selected. We do go to editor, embed in navigation controller. Right, so we have our navigation controller embedded into our bucket list view controller. And now notice that the arrow is pointing to the navigation controller. The navigation controller is the first controller that loads. It puts this controller on top of it, right? So it's embedded. All right, so now that we have navigation controller, we have this top bar. So we're going to make a bar button item. And then we're going to drag the bar button item to this slot right here. We're going to set it equals to a add. And now we're going to drag in another view controller. Right? This view controller, we're going to make it our add item view controller. So just make that, aligned. Here, what we're going to do is first, we have this here. We're going to go ahead and create a new file. So click on the bucket list, Command N for new. We're going to go to CocoaTouch class next. Make sure that this subclass is of UI view controller, and we're going to name it add item view controller. Okay, so next we're creating this file, and there we go. We have this view controller file. All right, we can drag it right under the bucket list one. I like to have my view controller files together. All right, in the main storyboard, we're going to click on the view controller, and then we're going to give it that class, add item view controller. So now if you hover over here, it says add item view controller. Okay, so now we're going to create our seg. So we can do control drag from the plus button down over here. We're going to say make this present modally. Okay, so when we click on that, it's going to pop up. This guy is going to pop up. Okay, so what we're going to do is next we're going to create two buttons, and we're just going to follow the same layout as we did in the lecture this morning. All right, so two buttons, one over here, one over here, and then we're going to have a label or a text field. Yeah, one right here. Okay, so for the text field, we're going to give it background color light gray. For these buttons, this button, I'm just going to pin it to the top and the left. This one, I'm going to pin it to the top and the right. And this guy, I'm going to give it a top vertical space to that button. And then I'm also going to pin it to the left and right. All right, so all of these constraints are good. This button, I'm going to call you cancel. This one, I'm going to call you save. Okay, so now we're going to click on our add item view controller, and we're going to create those connections. All right, so in our counterpart manual bucket list main storyboard, we're going to create our outlets and our actions, right? So outlets, actions, right? So actions, the first action is going to be a cancel button. Make sure that it's an action. Handle, cancel, button pressed. UI button. All right, good. The next one is going to be the save button. Handle, save button pressed. UI button, touch up inside, good. All right. The outlet for this text field, we're just going to call this item text field. All right. So in the cancel, we can close this now because we don't need it anymore. In the handle cancel button pressed, we are going to dismiss the view, and we do that with dismiss animated true, completion no. Because we use present modally, we can just dismiss it straight from this view controller. We don't need to make a protocol for that. All right, so save button pressed. When I click on save, I wanted to print the item text field.text. Right? Okay, and we're going to do this because it's an optional. Right? So if this guy is nil, it's not going to crash, it's going to print out this. But otherwise, it's just going to print out that text. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got. Okay, we have the top nav controller here, plus button brings up this new view controller, the add item view controller. Click cancel, dismisses itself. If we write some stuff here, we click save, it's going to print out down here. Okay, so good. Everything is behaving like we expect it to be. Now, the thing that we want to do is that when we click save, we want to pass back whatever was in this item text field back to our bucket list view controller, so we can add it into this array and then reload the table view that lives here. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to make our custom delegate. All right, so we're clicking on the bucket list folder here, Command N, Swift file. Next, we're going to call this add item delegate. All right, I just copy this because I'm going to use it as the name. So let's write that. It's a protocol. The name is going to be add item delegate. It's a class, and then the function that you're going to implement is called done adding. Okay, and we're going to pass back a new item that is a string. Okay, so we save that. We go back to our bucket list view controller. We are making this guy the add item delegate. It's going to yell at me saying that we're not conforming to the protocol add item delegate. So we're going to go down here, going to make another section here called protocol functions. And then here we're going to implement the done adding. There we go. So once this function is triggered, we're going to append the new item to our list. So it's going to be list array.append new item. And then once we're done with that, we're going to do table view.reload data so we can see that in our table view. Right? So now in our add item view controller, we need to create, and here are the variables. Create a variable called add item del, and this is of type add item delegate. It's an optional, right? We have that now. So now that we have that, we save this, we go back to our bucket list view controller. We're going to have to set that, right? The way I like to work is as soon as I make this variable, I immediately go to the part where I set it, because otherwise it's easy to forget. Right? So we're going to set that in the prepare for segue function. Prepare for seg. There we go. So in the prepare for seg, we're going to say let vc equals to seg.destination as add item view controller. So now when we do vc dot, we get these auto-completed stuff. So inside here, the first one, add item delegate, it's going to be self. Right? And that's all we need to do. We're setting that. If we don't set it, it's going to be nil. Right? So now that we've set it, we've transitioned over here. When we click on save, we simply call our delegates protocol function. Right? So we're going to go add item del dot, and notice that the function is right here, done adding. We're going to pass in this item text field dot text. All right, and then once we do that, we're going to dismiss ourselves. Completion, no. There we go. All right, so now let's run it. So when we click on save, we should be running this function, adding it to the array, reloading the table view, and then dismissing itself so we can see it. Thing 4. Boom, there you go. So here we go. You have now reached the point where the lecture starts, and for the rest, you can refer to the lecture video.